Okay, this is the Self-Help Comedy Hour. I'm Ed Crasnick, your host. This is the world's first self-help variety show. We know you have a choice of self-help variety shows to listen to, and we thank you for listening to this one. Won't you let us take you to Dysfunky Town? Now, I have to tell you that I've been practicing emotional magic all week, and it combines magic skills with emotions, and I want to show you a little bit about how my act works here. For example, I would say to a gentleman, sir, probably you have some issues with time. I know I do, valuing yourself and giving yourself enough time. How are you going to give yourself enough time without your watch, ladies and gentlemen? That's emotional magic. That's how it works on the Self-Help Comedy Hour. So, and we don't have a theme song, and we're looking for a theme song. So if you have a theme song or you have an idea, or maybe our guest tonight can write a theme song for us, until we get one, we're going to have temporary theme songs every week. And tonight's temporary theme song by the Traveling Wilburys, Handle Me With Care. Okay, we're back in the Self-Help Comedy Hour with Ed Crasnick. We have an amazing show, as usual. Big show, coming to you live from the Cow's End Cafe, a block from the ocean. We are celebrity adjacent. We have the salt air is out there. It's swirling around. A beautiful bouquet of solar cane, sea and ski and prell is filling the air. I can feel it. And I want to tell you a little bit, but I should tell you who's here tonight because it's a big show. We have a gentleman who is a TV writer and producer and an author. And most recently, he has written a book called Psych, the show Psych, Psych's Guide to... oh, boy, I can't even read it. I can't even read my old writing. Psych's Guide to Crimefighting for the Totally Unqualified. And that is a very funny book. He also has written for After Lately with Chelsea Handler, and he wrote a book that's used in universities all over the country. It's called Small Screen, Big Picture. It's about television writing. His name is Chad Gervich. Chad is here. Give Chad a nice round of applause. All right. That's very nice of you. This is a lot like Arsenio Hall's old audience, because they were very... Now... Tonight, also, that would be enough, and it would be in most free countries. But tonight, there's so much more. We do it with volume. We have a lady who made her way all the way over from Los Feliz, and had to pack fruit in the car to avoid getting scurvy. Ballooned part of the way. Took a train from Philadelphia to get here, and has a great show, a podcast on the Sideshow Network, and it is called Storyworthy. And she's an actress and was in the Peace Corps and a flight attendant and did all of it at the same time. And we're going to find out more from the most amazing person, Christine Blackburn, is here tonight. Now, I know you're saying, okay, I get it. But no, there's more. There are a lot of interesting singer-songwriters around town, but this young lady is a very interesting person, singer-songwriter, artist, because she got funding from Indiegogo and was picked by Indiegogo as one of the finest pitch videos that has ever been seen, and goes under the title of Cosby Sweater, made an album, made a CD, and describes herself as Allie G, which gets me very excited. Allie Gertz is here. Give her a nice round of applause. She's going to play some music for us. And I need to tell you a little bit about, before we bring on Allie, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Marina del Rey. This is an area of California that we're in right now. And I used to live about 5 blocks from here, and I had a landlord. And the landlord owned the building that I was in. Of course he did, because he was the landlord. But he bought the building so that he could have parties. Now, in Marina del Rey, there's a very interesting mix of people here. There was a guy across the street who has a blue macaw, and he would use the macaw to actually lure women. The bird got a lot of action. The man, not so much. But it really was. He'd roll around with this bird, and the bird would have breakfast, and people would come up. So that was one of my neighbors. But then I had this guy who bought the building, and what he did was he built my apartment, and then built like a bar, a ceramic tile bar around the apartment, very small apartment, but a big bar. and it had like 12 electrical outlets. And I said, why do I need 12 electrical outlets in a bar? He said, where are you going to plug in your blenders? He said, the ladies are going to be going right by here. They'll be going on rollerblades. They'll see you with the blenders, and it's a natural draw. And so that was my landlord. Now, my landlord also, what he enjoyed doing was he enjoyed playing the drums. Not well, just the drums in his apartment up above me. And what did he play to? Bad Company. And what was he? Bad Company. And the music would ricochet off the street, and you'd swear you were having Bad Company flashbacks. It was really Bad Company. So, and then he'd get upset if you'd say, could you tone it down a little bit? But he'd have dance parties on my lawn in front of my apartment, and he'd invite everybody to come in contact with that day. So in front of your lawn looked like the cast of Clue. You had a butcher, a baker, Colonel Mustard was there, everybody was there. And I was a stand-up, and I was on the road, and I would come home, and I'd try to relax and try to sleep, and I've got Colonel Mustard in my kitchen. And the problem was that this guy liked to have desserts, and he would offer people desserts. What kind of desserts? Adult cakes. I'm not making it up. So he comes in, he says, Eddie, I don't have any room in my freezer, but I have this cake. Can I keep it in here? And I looked at the cake. The cake was, he had one cake in the shape of breasts, and the other cake was a penis. So I don't need it. I didn't need it then. I don't need it now in my house. It was not a home. But this is an example of what this area sort of breeds. There's tremendous wealth. People living on trust funds. But then there's also a man with a blue macaw riding around on a tricycle. So it's a very interesting area. And I've always had interesting roommates. Right now, I have an 8-year-old and also an older woman living with me, and they would be called my family. They are not, it's not roommates. You cannot get rid of them, although they're in New York this week. They're amazing. Some of the best roommates I've ever had, in fact. But when I lived in San Francisco, I had 3 Italian women that I was living with and one man named Heinz, who was not a ketchup. But the man was named Heinz, and he was a paranoid guy, a vegan paranoid German-Austrian fellow. And I'd say, good morning, Heinz, how you doing? Say, are you accusing me of something? And that was my morning with him. And then the other 2 were from Milan. It was Bianca and Lela, and they would talk to each other. I'm sorry, but I cannot. Luciana comes to me in the morning, and she says, I'm sorry, I'm so lonely. I say, oh, come on. I am sorry, but I cannot. So I'd sit with those people all day. So I had some very colorful roommates, and the one thing that's been consistent throughout my life is the lack of breathing. I don't drink water, I don't breathe, so technically I'm not really a mammal. And what I've learned is that it's the out-breath that's very important. It's not as much the in-breath. And so you have a country, America now, with stress because nobody's breathing out. They're all breathing in, but they're not breathing out. So you really have to breathe out because that's what relieves the stress. It's not the breathing in. It's contrary to what they told you. They told you breathe in. Do not breathe in. Breathe out. So I'm going to try that right now. Don't feel better at all. All right, but really, breathing out, meditation, of course, is very important, and I'll talk about other things that are important after the show. What's important right now is that we have some music here in the Self-Help Comedy Hour. We always like to have music, and this young lady was actually somebody that I was introduced to through one of our other guests tonight. But I have to say, while listening to her music, very unique songwriting. And somebody who, well, we're going to talk to her, and I'm going to pretend that she's not sitting next to me. I'm going to talk about her as if I was her father, because I'm old enough to be her great-grandfather. But she came all the way from Silver Lake, which is really far away. And very happy to have her tonight. Give a nice round of applause for the musical stylings of Allie Gertz. Let's hear it for Allie. Now, you don't mind if I applaud constantly, do you? No.
It'll keep a beat.
It'll keep a beat. Now, you started songwriting when you were a little bit younger.
Yeah, I've been writing songs, cute little childish songs since I was a child, but I started writing seriously about 2 years ago when I started on YouTube.
And you started on YouTube, and now, did you just automatically, you had somebody film you and you just started putting stuff out there and saw what it would be? You started doing your own music videos?
Well, I had written the song Comedians and was kind of playing it around on chat roulette, and someone who I connected with suggested I put it on YouTube, and I was reluctant at first, but eventually gave in. I put it up with the expectation of maybe a couple people seeing it.
Yeah.
And Patton Oswalt saw it and retweeted it, and it ended up getting picked up by the Huffington Post and different really cool publications, and then I just kept going.
And how has your songwriting changed since you've been doing it? Have you...
I think it's expanded. I mean, it started out very narrow, but still in my own voice, and the songs have always been about what I love and what I am drawn to and maybe what makes me sad. And the earlier songwriting is very, very rooted in pop culture, and it still is to an extent, but I think as I become more comfortable with my songwriting, I start to really focus more on me, and I can admit these are my feelings, not the feelings of a fictitious character.
Right.
So if you listen to my music, I have a song called Open Letter to Myself, which is just that. It's focusing on me and how I have viewed the world and myself.
I absolutely love that. I heard that song and I liked it a lot. And
Thank you.
I mean, I think that's art. I mean, I think that's what John Lennon was doing. I think people are, they're writing without filters. They're writing about their experiences. They're writing about their feelings. If you're not writing about your insides, I don't know what you're writing about. So
I agree.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you want to do that one?
Well, the open letter, I'll try and do it. I typically do that one on piano, but let's see if I can't do it.
See if you can do it and see how that feels. Here's Allie Goertz with Open Letter.
Dear Allison, won't you hold on to your virtues, but not get caught up in your head? Did you know that it's okay for people to like different things? Will it matter when you're dead? That you like what you do. When people ask who's got the best taste, you say you. It's time to put that to rest. Don't forget the subjectivity of best. You can have a friend who likes watching Friends without thinking they're a bad person. I know that you're leery of people who watch Big Bang Theory, 'cause you think there's no show worse than that. But you can't change what people like. If your mom likes Glee, don't put up a fight. You can still be opinionated without making your friends feel so alienated. Just stop telling them that they're wrong for listening to their favorite song. If they don't know what in Bruges is, prefer the Three Stooges, Chico Harpo and Groucho Marx. If they don't know Django Reinhardt and Dimitri Martin's bar charts, try and spare them your snide remarks. You can like the girls who don't like Dunham's girls without calling them morons. Some friends don't like RPGs or get the reference covered in P's. Some people never, ever, ever see Red Dawn. But you can't change what people like. If your mom likes 2.5 Men, try and be polite. You can still be opinionated without making your friends feel so alienated. Just stop telling them that they're wrong for still listening to that god-awful song. Your friend shouldn't be berated for calling the Beatles overrated, no matter how much you disagree. But if you put on Seinfeld say something hurtful and never take it back. Sincerely me.
That's great. That's great.
Thank you.
Well, that is a letter to yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of my songs take a lot of time to write because I'm trying to uphold the tone of something that already exists, like The Hobbit. I need to make sure it sounds like it could exist in that world. But a song that's about me, it just poured out, and I wrote it in about 20 minutes, and it's the one that I'm probably most proud of just because it's the most confessional.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I would encourage more of that kind of writing. That's great.
Thank
And
you.
also, I love how the pop cultural references
Thanks.
are hysterical because they're tied to feelings but
yeah, they're very specific to me. Like I wouldn't say that if I wrote down those references on a piece of paper that you'd be able to find, that it was of a type, like there are certain characteristics that go with being nerdy, like you like Star Trek and Star Wars and this and this and that, and I think my list kind of covers a lot of different things just because they're what I'm snobby about, I guess.
And who are your influences? I mean,
musically?
Yeah.
I really love, obviously, the Beatles. I don't think you have to count them, but Amy Mann and Fiona Apple and Weezer and Fountains of Wayne. It kind of goes all over the place, but I really like any kind of clever lyricism, and I look for that when I try and find new artists.
Great. Well, will you play us another song a little bit later in the show? Is that okay?
Yeah, I thought that.
All right. Well, I thank you so much. That
Absolutely.
was great.
Yeah,
was
thank
great.
you.
One more time for Allie. Yeah. So, okay. Well, I wanna tell you that the show once again, because I haven't written anything new, is sponsored by Moodament, which is the first antidepressant mouthwash. Why let depression blockade you from fresh breath? Moodament is available in 3 new flavors: spearmint, peppermint, and new root and toot and Wellbutrin. So that's Moodament, and please try it. And again, we're coming to you from the Tylenol PM Talk Center because everything has to be branded today. Even your own feelings. Now, I want to welcome my next guest, and Allie, you can slide over, I think. And this is a great show because we actually tell the guests where they can move during the show. There's a choreography that we do, and so I like to bring people inside of it. I like to take people inside the hurricane, inside the Hebrew hurricane. That's right. And right now, I want to welcome my next guest. Now, I am a fan because she is a great storyteller, and she has a great show about storytelling. And it's a terrific show called Story Worthy, and it is on the Sideshow Network TV, Sideshow Network as a podcast. You can hear it every week, I think. And then she also has a game version of it called Shotgun Story. You see? There's a lot of worthiness in this room. This is the greatest show on Worth. Please welcome Christine Blackburn. Christine, thank you for coming all the way from Los Feliz, which is 1,000 miles away.
Across town.
And also across the room you came
Yes,
from.
all the way. I really like this room. You have a nice audience here, and I think that the red leather couches really lend to, being comfortable.
I painted them myself.
You
and
didn't.
The answer
You
is,
didn't.
You ask if it's hot in here, and yes, the answer is yes, and it is me.
Yeah.
Those are the answers. Now, Christine, I have to.
Ed.
You have had an array of things that have happened to you in your life.
Ed,
unlike
I'll tell you the
anybody
number one
else.
thing that recently happened to me
Yeah,
is
yeah.
Ed Crasnick himself was on the Storyworthy podcast. Actually, it's coming up August 12th. It's a Monday.
Yeah.
And that show will be evergreen. Do you know what they mean when they say evergreen?
I think
Ed?
it has something to do with Barbara Streisand.
That, and also it means it's up forever. That's the thing with the podcasting. The shows, they don't go away.
You're leaving a legacy.
Well, I don't know if you call it a legacy. You just don't want to fuck up, because if you do, it's gonna keep on. You know what I mean?
It keeps on keeping on.
You can't take it away.
Can't take it away. Now, you're doing this show, and it's about storytelling.
It's about storytelling. storytelling. It is.
But you have stories in your own life that are insane stories.
You know what? It's funny. I do have some really weird things that have happened to me, and I think it helps me set myself apart because I don't like. I've always wanted to be an actress, but there are, as you know, so many amazing actresses. Like I can't compete with actresses because they're amazing. So the only thing I really have going for me is that I've had a crazy life and have kept going. Do you know what I mean? So therefore, I have some good stories. So therefore, when on my podcast, Storyworthy, I get people in the entertainment industry, mostly writers and comedians. They come on the show. They bring the topic, and usually I have something to chime in with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a very interesting format because it's storytelling, but the way interviewing locks into it is great because you let people tell their stories.
Right. For instance, Ed was on, and his show was about driving across America. So when we introduce you, you go straight into your show. And then when you're done talking, or straight into your piece about driving across America, then when you're done talking, we go from there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, the funny thing about this is I saw a bad example of that. That yours is a great example because you listen, you let the person tell their story. Spalding Gray, who was one of the greatest storytellers of all time, comes on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Now, Jay's one of the funniest comedians of all time, and he's a great nightclub comedian. Mm-hmm. But Jay will not listen to Spalding Gray. So you're watching the greatest storyteller of all time, and he's saying, and then I was in Cambodia, and Jay looks at me and says, Cambodia, like that's where is that? That's North, South Vietnam.
You have that list perfect.
Yeah, but I mean, it's Spalding Gray,
right?
And I was pulling my hair out,
and he wouldn't let him breathe.
He wouldn't let him breathe. So you let people breathe. You let them tell their story, and that's a really. I should let you tell a story about your life.
No, it's not that. But I will say that's a really hard thing. And I've been doing Storyworthy for over 3 years. And it's been one of the hardest things I've learned is to stop talking. Now, when people tell their story on my show, my microphone is off. Thank God. Right. And so people do speak uninterrupted. However, when you're interviewing, as you know, right, you're there to learn about them. If you're talking, you're not learning, are you?
Right.
You're the one talking. So that's a hard thing in entertainment, I think, in what I do in terms of interviewing people, to know that your silences actually say a lot.
Is it therapeutic?
My show?
Yeah. Is it therapeutic for you listening to people's stories?
Oh, I'm just entertained.
Right.
And most of the stories are comical. Like last week's episode, Shitting My Pants. That was
one of my favorite topics.
One of the more serious
and something I've just done.
Episodes that but in other words, people are bringing the funny. They're bringing the funny. You brought the funny. Most people bring the funny.
Yeah.
Sometimes they bring serious topics. Phil Hendry, who is of course a radio legend,
a genius.
He brought a very serious topic about women, and he really got into it heavy about his mom and her influence on him. So it's not everybody, tells a funny story, but most of them are just plain old entertaining.
Now, you're a kid growing up outside of Pittsburgh.
Right, in the suburbs of Pittsburgh. I thought it was the suburbs, but really, you guys, it was rural. Rural. That's a different word.
Yeah, those are two different words.
Rural.
Now, so take us. Let's just talk. Was storytelling part of the family?
No.
You don't have to get angry about it. There's no need to shout. I'm sitting right here. I understand what you're saying. No. Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, now.
Dead end. Sorry.
No.
Shut down.
No, because it's very interesting. Now, I don't know anybody in my life. I've never met anybody who is a flight attendant.
I did that for 7 years, just over 7 years.
What would possess you?
Oh, that's a good time, man. I was in my 20s, and I went to college, but I didn't really learn anything, and I was a waitress for a long time. Many restaurants. And so the logical step for me was to continue waitressing, but with benefits in the air. Because at that time, and I was a flight attendant during the good old days. I didn't know it was the good old days.
Yeah.
But before 9/11, it was the good old days,
Yeah.
And I was flying, everybody was much happier, obviously.
Yeah.
Security was a breeze. And we were serving a lot of food. A tremendous amount of food, Ed.
Yeah.
Pitt Philly, hot meal. Hot breakfast, Pitt Philly. What's happening?
Hot breakfast.
And we're talking like a 35-minute airtime.
God.
I know. So my point is,
travel.
we used to fly level 1 service coast to coast. I kid you not. You get on the plane in New York or whatever. You're going to L.A. coast to coast, and we would serve champagne or orange juice on the ground. This is to everybody. We'd walk through the plane. Champagne, orange juice. Then we'd take off. Everybody gets a hot towel. Hot towel.
Would you like a hot towel
Then
for your flight?
we're giving out a beverage service, then a full meal, then another beverage service. Then we did a coffee service. Then we gave out, kid you not, ice cream sandwiches. What the hell is going on here?
Did you work on the Love Boat?
I kid you
Where
not.
did you work?
No, it was
Sounds
U.S.
like the Lido
Air.
deck.
It was U.S. Air.
U.S.
Air.
Air.
Then another beverage service. Oh, we're hearing there's some comments in the audience.
There's a lot of anger about U.S. Air.
Oh, and then we'd give out another hot towel and a blowjob at the end. I mean, it was crazy.
Can you back up a minute? Because I could have sworn that you said a blowjob.
An
at the end.
unbelievable experience. But like I said, it was the good old days. I don't think it's like that anymore.
Can I ask you a weird thing?
Please.
Oh, no, go ahead. You were just
No.
Were you ever aware of anybody having sex in the toilet?
Absolutely.
And what do you do as a flight attendant? What does the guidebook say?
Well,
Does
it's
it have one of
interesting.
those, like,
you should
charts?
say that. That's right. There's a chart. There's pictures, schematics. Yes, that's right.
What do they do?
No, I don't think that. No, but I'll tell you something, and it's still true. Any airport lavatory can be opened with a pen. So if you're out there, folks, you're flying tomorrow, today, take your pen. And you can just lift up it goes vacant, not vacant, or vacant, occupied, and it's just a little lever, and so anybody can get in it at any time.
Wow!
So they're not really locked, and that, of course, is for fire purposes because people would try to smoke, right? They would try to, steal a cigarette in the bathroom, and that's not good, people. Ladies and gentlemen, please, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
No smoking in the bathroom.
There's a reason.
It
why
is
they
a
say
federal
it.
violation to tamper with any smoke detector.
Now, did you ever have to lay down the law with somebody?
Have I? And
Have you done it?
and that was after being a flight attendant.
What?
No.
Well, the smoking
Have
thing.
I? I don't know. Oh, I did tell somebody to stop doing cocaine in the emergency exit row one time.
And that person was Smokey Robinson.
That's
No,
exactly
I don't
right,
know.
ladies and gentlemen.
Wouldn't that be great if?
No, but there was a couple doing, snorting coke off the tray table, and they were in the exit row. So I go up to the cockpit and I say to the guys, "Okay, by the way, Ed, back then in the good old days, we had a cockpit key. That key opened the cockpit. It was beautiful. You know what I'm saying? There was no
During the flight?
Yeah, in other words, you could just go up to the cockpit. Talk to the guys. You can't do that anymore. Anyway, the point is, I went up to the cockpit. I said, "Hey, you guys, there's some people doing coke in the emergency exit row. What do you want to do?" And the pilot says, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I don't know." And he goes, "Look, if you want to get them arrested or you want trouble at the airport when we land in Denver, then tell me. Otherwise, just tell them to move." He goes, how many open seats? I said, "Oh, it's wide open." The flights used to be very open in those days, by the way. We would fly away with 20. We would fly with 20 people, 30 people, 40 people, 10 people. Anyway, he says, "Just move them out of the exit row." So I went back. I said, "Hey, man, you guys got to take that to another row." And they
You have
said,
to take it to another row.
And they said, "No worries."
You can do it, but
And
you
then
have
I
to take
said,
it to another row.
Coke or Sprite? And they said, "We're doing Coke. Thank you. I'll have a Sprite." I'm kidding.
Wouldn't that be great? It's a beverage and drug service, is what it is.
That's exactly what it was,
That's
Ed.
fantastic. Now you're on the plane. Did you ever have to do the Heimlich maneuver? Did you
I've
ever
never
have to
done the Heimlich maneuver, but I'm looking forward to it.
It's a wonderful experience. If you've never done it at home, I'm going to demonstrate it on the air. Next show, not this show.
Not
'cause
this show.
This is not the show for the Heimlich maneuver. But there'll be a Heimlich maneuver show.
I have never had a medical emergency on the plane. I've had some emergencies on the plane, but not a medical
Like?
one. I had an engine blowout on takeoff.
Engine blows out.
That was a problem.
What do you do?
Well, I thought that we weren't going to take off. I thought that we were going to abort the flight because we were barreling down the runway. It's like 7 a.m. and we're moving, and my back is to the cockpit because I'm flying the C position, which is in the front of the plane. And my back is to the cockpit, and all of a sudden it's a 727, which is a very old plane. I don't think they don't make them anymore, and I don't think they fly most of them anymore. A 727 has 3 engines. There's one on top. The one of the engines blew out. So now when you're taking off, you go at about 150 miles an hour. Now we lose a third of that power, which is, do the math, Ed. Now we're at about 100 miles an hour. So the plane just sucks back. And I say, we're going to abort. We don't abort. We take off. And now we're in the air. And the pilots are, beep, 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 beep. It's a robot situation in the cockpit. No, they're very busy in the cockpit. There's been an emergency, clearly. Yes. I get the phone behind my head. Hey guys, ding, ding. I'm dinging. It's 2 dings if you'd like to reach the cockpit, folks. Ding, ding. Nobody's picking up. They're not picking up because we are in an emergency.
They don't feel like talking.
They don't want to talk to me. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Anyway,
So what happens?
we ended up, the passengers were all looking at me. I'm like, hey, folks, this happens all the time. No worries. Hello, Coke or Sprite. Yeah, so they're looking at me, and we ended up just circling the airport while they prepare the runway with all the fire engines and the hose machines because they're going to hose down the plane. And everybody had to do the emergency, heads down, stay
position?
down. It's like a tuck. That's exactly right, Ed. In fact, I think they should use that more because now we say head down, stay down, head down, stay down, But I think we should just say tuck.
Tuck it.
Tuck it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we
could do
landed
it.
and, it all worked out. I'm here.
It all worked out.
It all worked out.
Now,
I got off that day. I was so excited because what I did was we all had, they parked far away from the airport terminal, and they brought up the stairs, and we walked down. We got to the bus, and then we get to the terminal, and I went up to my supervisor's office, and you know what I did?
What'd you do?
I claimed distress.
Very smart. Not popular at that time.
I didn't want to, I wasn't that distressed. I was very excited about getting off. And when I say getting off, I mean not working.
Well, either way, it would have been good. Now, here's the thing. Are you somebody who's calm under pressure? Are you somebody who gets...
Yeah, I think so.
Were you always that way, or did something happen?
I have no idea.
I think something happened.
A lot has happened, man.
I think you went into the Peace Corps.
Yeah, no, I did that. I don't know if that has anything to do with that, but I did. I was a flight attendant for all this time, and then I thought, you know what? This is getting old. It is old.
It's getting old, and now what am I looking to do? So how do you get into...
Well, I had traveled so extensively, but I wanted to live somewhere else. That was a big part of it. I wanted to live in another country. And I had all these friends in Colorado because I used to live in Colorado, and I had all these friends out there, and a lot of them had gone to the Peace Corps.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm from Pittsburgh. My cool friends are in Colorado. Their friends, the coolest of all the people, off to the Peace Corps.
Off to the Peace Corps.
So then I say, I'm going to go to the Peace Corps. So it was kind of a challenge, and I wanted to live somewhere else.
It sounds like you're in an MTV show. It's the Peace Corps.
I know.
This is the Peace Corps we're talking about.
It was hardcore. It was very hardcore.
Tell us about the training that involved in the Peace Corps and how you got in there.
It takes like a year to you apply. You go through it's a long process. Jump through a lot of hoops to get into the Peace Corps. The first thing was when I went to the recruiter at the University of Pittsburgh. She said, "What do you want to do in the Peace Corps?" And I said, "I don't know. What could I do?" And she said, "Well, what are your skills?" And I said, "Coke or Sprite." I mean, I have no skills. I'm a waitress. I got nothing. Wow. She said, "Well, you appear to be speaking English." I said, "Yes, I do that."
You appear to be speaking English.
She heard me at that time. I did not have a podcast then.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she said you could teach English. So then that's what I did. Teach English as a second language. So then she said, "Okay, go get certified." So I did that. I came back. I said, "Hey, I'm certified. Let's go. Where am I going? Pack my bags. Let's roll." And she said, "Now go volunteer and teach English for 6 months and then come back again."
But here's an interesting thing now.
So I did.
You go and you teach English for 6 months.
Well, I was just in Pittsburgh. I was just volunteering at that time. In other words, I was trying to get my credentials together to get into the Peace Corps. It's very selective. They get many, many applicants, and they don't take that many people. So mainly is because you have to jump through so many hoops to get in that most people just don't. They stop doing those hoops. So right. So anyway,
like Survivor.
It's something like that.
Not as many cameras.
Not as many.
What do you? So you now? How do they assign you? Because I've always been concerned about like how do they? Is it like the NBA draft? Do they say you're going with the Dallas Mavericks?
That's exactly right. They say you're going to Sri Lanka.
And you sit there and you get the call and you go up. You put your hat on.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I mean, how does it?
No,
work?
I don't know. I mean, like I said, so I didn't jump through these hoops. I went up. I had to go to New York. After I got nominated to meet with the Peace Corps people up there in the World Trade Center, which was interesting. I didn't know it was interesting at the time, but now I think it's interesting. They were only on the 9th floor. Surprising. And anyway, then they said, "Okay, yeah, whenever we have a position, we'll let you know." And then one day I got home and there was a call on the answering machine. We called it the answering machine. You remember that, Ed?
I remember it. It answered the phone.
That's exactly right. And it said, "Hey, Christine, we've got a position for you in Sri Lanka." But then I'm going to Sri Lanka and I get a book and I'm excited and I'm going to learn Sinhalese and I'm going to, I'm learning, I'm going to make tea. I don't know. And then I get rid of my apartment. I sold my car. I resigned from the airline and I'm leaving for Sri Lanka in 5 days or 7 days or whatever. Yeah. And all of a sudden then there's another message on my machine, another message on the goddamn machine. And it's the person in New York and she says, "Hey, Christine, there's been a lot of violence in Sri Lanka, so we've canceled your class. We're going to get back with you in 6 months." I'm like, I'm sorry. And I called back, I'm sorry, what? No. I just got rid of my apartment, sold my car, resigned from the airline. I just resigned from my job. I have to go now. I have to go somewhere. And then they called back again and they said, okay, Christine, we're going to send you to Tonga. And then I said, great, Africa. I've always wanted to go to Africa. They said, no, it's not in Africa. That's Togo. And Tonga is in the South Pacific. In the Kingdom of Tonga. It's a kingdom.
It's in the South Pacific.
And they have a king. The king of Tonga. He weighs about 400 pounds. And when he walks through town, these men carry a chair behind him. So when he's tired, then they put the chair down and the king sits.
I assume there's a great deal of fatigue in Tonga.
It works out
with the
very
king.
well.
My God, is that true? That's really true.
Ed,
You don't make
number
anything
one.
up.
How do I lie?
That's
I
right.
can't lie.
You
I'm
can't
sitting
lie
right
about-
beside you.
can't lie about
These fine
Tonga.
people are looking at me.
These people know Tonga. They've
know.
all been to Tonga.
Hey, listen. Do you know there's only 100,000 people in Tonga? The whole country could fit in the Rose Bowl. The whole country. Everybody.
Because half the country is putting up chairs for the king.
That's right. And they could also drink the water in the Rose Bowl, which would be a real, that would be a boost.
Wow. Now, so South Pacific, can you describe like how you adjust? Like, what did you see? How did you adjust to this lifestyle?
It's nuts, man. It was because I was on an island with just 67 people, and there's no running water, and there's no toilets, and there's no lights, there's no electricity, there's no bicycles, there's no cars or paths or anything. It's just mud, pigs, some chickens. There was a Mormon church, I'll say that. The Mormons are tricky. I'll say that. They get out there. Okay, so in Tonga, the number one religion is it's called the Free Church of Tonga. So there's one of those churches on the island. So there's two churches on an island with 67 people. Two. The Free Church of Tonga and the Mormon church. The Mormons had a goddamn flush toilet. I shit you not. They had a flush toilet in the Mormon church.
That's amazing.
You don't think you'll rethink your prophet? Yes, you will.
It's a miracle.
Yes, you will.
It is a miracle. That's fantastic. Wow, yeah, that would be... I'd go for Joseph Smith if I had a toilet, sure.
So, anyway,
wow.
it beat the latrine. The latrine outside of the place I lived, in this little hut I lived in, there was a latrine. And there were so many cockroaches, Ed. I can't explain to you the cockroaches. It was just so, and they don't have toilet paper there. There's no toilet paper. There's no toilet paper. You're on an island in the middle. These people don't know. There's no toilet paper. They use their left hand. You want to shake with your right. Or they would use the Newsweek magazine because all the Peace Corps volunteers got a Newsweek every month. I think we got a Newsweek.
That's fantastic.
And they would use my Newsweek when I was done reading it. So President Clinton, they tear the page.
That's amazing. That's useful.
Latrine was a bad situation, man. It was horrible. In fact, I wrote to the Peace Corps nurse one time because two things had happened. Number one, a pig had stolen my toothbrush.
Hold on.
Yeah.
A pig has stolen. Was this Arnold from Green Acres?
So I lost my toothbrush because I was washing my face and brushing my teeth outside with this bucket, and then I put my toothbrush down, and this pig just runs up, takes the brush, runs off into the night. He's gone. So I write to the Peace Corps nurse to say I need a goddamn toothbrush, and if possible, I need some Raid for this latrine because the cockroach situation is out of control. So about 3 weeks later on the slow boat, I get a toothbrush. A soft bristle. I'm not pleased, but fair enough. And I get the Raid. So one Sunday, on Sundays in Tonga, you're not allowed to do anything. The airports are closed. You can't drive. Not that where I was living you could drive, but if you were on an island, everything that had electricity or stores, everything would be closed. On Sundays, you have to pray and sleep and eat. And so that was the day I planned my attack on the latrine to get rid of the roaches.
Yeah.
So I get in there on a Sunday. Everybody's sleeping. The whole goddamn island's sleeping. I'm the only one up. And I take that Raid, man. I go into that latrine and I just whoosh, and I spray it down that hole. Whoosh, I throw the goddamn can in there. Yeah. And I step outside the latrine, and all of a sudden, the latrine starts rocking, man. These cockroaches are coming out. It has like a metal roof. It's like ding, 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 and they're coming out, and they're just swarming into the grass, swarming cockroaches into the grass like a black blanket's coming out. And I'm like, this is amazing. I wish somebody could see this with me. And then the chickens, there were about 15 chickens on the entire island. They come over across the hillside to get the cockroaches, and I'm thinking, I have poisoned the cockroaches. The chicken has eaten them, and I'm going to wipe out the goddamn nation of, myself. What kind of Peace Corps volunteer am I?
And that is what is called the circle of life.
That's what I'm saying, Ed.
That's fantastic.
So it was great, then it was scary, then it was beautiful, then the next day I had to wait to see who ate the eggs, and then the chicken. But they're all there, man. I'm sure they're all still there.
It sounds like a song. But now
it was called Otea. That was the name of the island, Otea.
Otea.
And they say
is there a language?
Yeah, Tongan,
Yeah.
and it's a Polynesian. So every other letter is a vowel.
Okay.
And so it's malolele, fefehake, fayako, America, and they called me Calicitina.
Wow.
And they raise their eyebrows when they speak. Their eyebrows are always going like. It's
a beautiful language.
It's beautiful singing. They have beautiful singing. Yeah.
Yeah, and do the cockroaches also speak? No, I don't know.
They could. They're big
There's
enough.
a lady
I'm telling
who's
you.
blonde who tried to kill us. Now,
The people that lived on that island, they thought. Excuse me, I'm spitting. They thought I was 12 years old. I was 31 years old when I was in the Peace Corps. They thought I was 12. They're big people, Ed.
they're big people.
They're so big that, like, I had to live with this family that I had to call them mom and dad, but they were like 25 and 26. They were younger than me.
Yeah.
But I had to call them mom and dad.
Yeah.
They said, in America, do you have bread? And I'm like, yes, we have bread. Do you know Clinton? They were all about Clinton. No, I don't know Clinton. Do you have a moon?
Do you have a moon in
Yes,
your country?
we do have a moon.
Wow.
So this was some far out stuff, man.
This is really big. That's very interesting, though. That changes your perspective on life, I would imagine.
does.
Yeah. Well, now something.
We can let's just fast forward all this, Ed.
No, but
really. It's not
something
important.
It
Story
is
worthy.
important. No.
Up
but
every
no,
Monday.
Wait,
StoryworthyPodcast.com.
Wait, but something happened, though.
In the Peace Corps, it's true. Bum, bum, bum.
Now you let's back into this by saying that you did a solo show about something. That
I
happened.
did. No, I got really sick when I was in the Peace Corps, and it's unfortunate because some people get sick in the Peace Corps because they don't want to do it anymore. They don't want to live with pigs stealing their toothbrush, call them crazy. They don't want to live with cockroaches wiping their ass with their left hand, and they try to leave. And they often have things like, oh, my stomach hurts, I have cramps, and the water did this, or my period won't stop, or I don't know. People have problems. They want to leave. Toothache, that's a big one.
Yeah.
I got really sick, and they flew me out because I got like this really crazy temperature, and the doctor that saw me there, I was like deliriously sick, and the doctor that saw me, he had no shoes on, and he was wearing a skirt, and he pushed on my stomach for 2 seconds, and then he said, tomorrow I take out your appendix.
Wow.
And I said, you don't have water. Look at the time. There's no water.
There's no water here.
No, and he was going to take out, yeah. So anyway, to make a long story short, they flew me to Hawaii, the Peace Corps. They like medevaced me out to the closest state, which was Hawaii. And then they got to Hawaii, and they did some blood tests and a CAT scan, and I had cancer. Yeah, so it was like a bad deal, right? Because to get into the Peace Corps, did I mention this rigorous health exam they made me go through, like physical, to make sure that you're set and you're all good to go. And in fact, they made me, not me because I already had my wisdom teeth pulled, but some people, they even make sure you have your wisdom teeth pulled before you go out of country because they don't want to bring you back in for something like that.
And they find nothing.
They find nothing. I am so healthy, it's ridiculous.
Right.
Well, it turns out there was a big tumor growing in my kidney. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Bigger than a
Crazy.
golf ball.
That's
Thank you.
crazy.
The audience is gasping. It's exciting.
Yeah, that's
I
crazy.
am in the medical books. Yeah, what I had was called an adult Wilms tumor, and it happens in children under the age of 2, and then it never happens. So for me, I was like the 27th person to get it.
Now,
That medical, I mean, that was in the books. You know what I mean? That they went to judge how to treat my case. Then they go, they go to the medical books, and there was a case of 27 people. That's what they went by.
can you
14 people died, 13 people. Well, I was the 13th that lived.
Can you tell me, because people, this is unfortunately a more common thing now, not this particular type of cancer, but cancer in general.
Right.
How you get that news? How do you survive it?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
What do you
I don't
do?
know. I think it was just disbelief because I was by myself, in Hawaii, and I thought I was picking up a prescription for some, Motrin. I thought it was nothing, and I had a list of everything I'm taking back to my friends. Number 1, guitar strings. There's no guitar strings in the kingdom, Ed. There's also no pants in the kingdom. I'm not lying to you. Only skirts. Candy, M&Ms, Snickers. I got the list. I'm going to shop in Hawaii. I'm going back. I'm going back to my island. And then the guy, the doctor looks down at me. He goes, no. You're very, very sick. You're very sick. And I'm looking at him like, no. I run every day. I am a vegetarian. You know what I mean? Like, it's such ridiculousness.
Crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, then I had to have my kidney taken out, and then I had to go through the chemotherapy, and then the Peace Corps didn't want me anymore because I was, sick.
Wow.
Blows, man. Yeah, really.
It blows. But how did
Let's move forward.
All right.
That's
let's
the
move
drag.
forward. Let's move forward. So now we're doing.
So now I don't have a Peace Corps career. The airline, they won't take me back unless I start over, like at the beginning of seniority, which is, if anybody out there listening is in a job where seniority, where it's based on seniority, you don't go back 7 years in seniority. You can't.
You can't do it.
So that was gone, and then so I got nothing. What do I do?
I
know. I'll move to LA because what could be wrong? Like, I always wanted to come to LA, but I was more afraid of coming here than to a third world country.
That's very interesting.
And rightly so, I think.
And rightly so is right. There's nothing.
It's a much harder life out here, although I'm really enjoying myself. I've been here like 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah, August 17th is my 17th reunion here. 17th anniversary or whatever.
And you're happy with what's transpired.
I love Los Angeles. First and foremost, I love Los Angeles. I really do.
Yeah.
I think that's what people, before they move out here, you need, people should know that. You need to come out and just like to be here, make a life here. You know what I mean? If you're thinking of entertainment, you can't just think you're going to come out and be in entertainment because it doesn't work that way.
You have to live here, right?
You got to live here, be a person.
Excuse me, I need to explain something. That's a special segment that we have in the show called Who's Coming In.
Ooh.
And basically, it's an electric garage door that I operate with my parents. and there's a celebrity who's in the garage. And
they'll come up through the floor.
We'll find out who they are later in the show.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, it's a little hook
the
that
couch
we have.
started vibrating. I was going to say, a little to the right.
It's a hook that we have. So now tell me, what's the best thing that's happened to you since you've been in L.A.?
I had a baby girl. I have a
that's
child.
pretty
She's
good.
6. That was a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, in retrospect.
Yeah.
That's probably the best thing that I look at her and I think, well, now see there, I have done something, haven't I?
Yeah, that's tremendous. What do
that helps a lot. Having a child, I think, kind of grounded me there.
What do you think she's learned from you that's like the most important thing, or what have you learned from her that's the most important thing?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
That's
Ed.
hard to say.
You have an 8-year-old child. You
I
have an
8-year-old
8-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And you know how they're so smart, aren't they?
Yes.
And they pick up on everything.
Yes.
If I buy anything new, like a pair of shoes, Mama, where are those shoes from?
Yes.
Mama, you never buy that milk. I mean, you can't bullshit her.
Right.
I had to have the marijuana talk with her.
And what was that talk like?
Well, look here, honey. Some adults like to smoke the marijuana, and I do too. You know what I mean?
That's the talk?
It's basically it. It's a plant. She's worried about cigarettes, and I said you should be, because so she wants to make sure I'm not smoking something harmful like cigarettes.
Yes.
And I tell her, no, it's not like that. Because it's important for her to distinguish. I said, but that's also a choice adults make. Da-da-da.
But you now
Pass the bong.
Now would you pass the bong, my child? Now would you say I'm gonna show you a movie now? It's called Up in Smoke.
That's exactly right.
Cheech and
and
Chong,
then we're gonna
a
watch.
Very funny team.
That's
comedy
exactly
team.
right. And then we're gonna watch Red Rage. What was that one?
Red, yeah.
When you have to watch that horror film in traffic
my
school or in
God.
driver's ed. What was it called?
There's like
Red Blood. No.
Signal 30 was the one I watched.
It was the one with like
Signal
car
30.
accidents. They're trying to scare you.
Now, seriously, you'll smoke. You don't smoke with her around.
No, come on now, Ed.
No, you wouldn't smoke with her. But you tell her that sometimes mommy will have.
Well, I don't have to tell her. If she says, "Mommy, what's that?" I say, "Bam it."
That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. I don't make it a big thing.
Right.
And she'll know. I'll say, "Bama, you gonna watch your show? Okay, me and cousin Adam are going out to the kitchen or something like that."
Wow.
And that's code.
Wow.
Me and cousin Adam.
Me and cousin Adam are going out to the kitchen.
There is
now,
no cousin Adam.
Is it? Now I was going to ask you about cousin Adam. Is it cousin Adam or is there?
I
is
do.
that
My
a euphemism?
nephew lives in LA, which is awesome. He's 31, and it's awesome. He's in wardrobe or costume design, and it's just so fun having some family out here. Because everybody's back east. So I'm trying to make a little family happen.
Now, can I ask a question? Because this is going to surprise you. I've never been high in my life.
Is that right?
People in college, it was a preoccupation to get me high, but I've never been high. So, what do you love about it?
Oh, well, I think it's just, basically self-medicating. First of all, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not. So it's not, and it's not like alcohol where it could change what's going on physiologically inside of you. I mean, maybe, I'm probably saying that very wrong, but I mean, it's not. I don't ever feel drunk if I'm high. Do you know what I mean?
Right,
Nothing.
okay.
It just lightens the load. It just lightens
the
everything. Everything, and anybody that smokes pot will tell you everything is better when you do smoke pot.
And
it's just true.
And certainly should be legalized.
Well, and luckily it is, in most states, to a certain degree.
To a certain degree.
Soon to be recreational in Colorado and Washington, I believe, and medicinal in maybe 30 states. It's medicinal
Right.
in many, many, many states,
Right.
which is great, finally to take away the mistake. Basically, as you guys all know out there, it's the drug companies that are keeping it out of everybody's hands.
Sure.
It's all about money. It's all about pharmaceuticals. And anybody that could possibly try to diss on somebody who smokes pot, and then they turn around and the meds in their, bathroom cupboard is, crazy, the amount of drugs that people take every day. And to turn around and think that smoking a plant could be anything possibly worse or even close. It doesn't compare to me whatsoever.
I agree with you. And of course, I think it certainly can be monetized and taxed, and that money can certainly go to help.
It's happening. It's like, Ed, it's like gay marriage. Look, you guys, it's all happening. It's all going through.
Right.
Pot's going to be legal. You're going to look like a big fucking asshole in 15 years. So just get past it, move on.
Wouldn't that be a great
You're
thing
gonna
if you could
look
say
like
that to Congress?
a dick.
You people
you're
are going to
gonna
look like a bunch of
dicks,
assholes.
like racist assholes.
Yeah,
so
sure.
just move forward, please.
Yeah.
Enough already.
I understand.
I'm very liberal that way.
Are you holding
Are
now?
you shocking?
Is that the title?
I'm holding.
Are
No,
you packing?
where would I
Do
be
you have
packing,
anything?
Ed? I have
I
on
don't-
like a tank top, the very
know,
nothing
I know.
really underneath. Where would I be holding
Well,
what?
maybe you're strapped. Maybe you have
I don't
something
have a
strapped
gun.
to your...
Are you talking about a gun?
No, I don't even know how to. I'm so not a person who's I don't know anything.
And that's interesting because you're in Venice / Marina del Rey, and
Right.
this area is very popular for
Very popular.
that
right.
stuff.
Right. I'm eternally high.
Is that
I mean,
right?
I really am. I've
Yeah.
never been. I've always been a little bit. I've
you
got
drink
something
al-
going
do you
on
drink
right
alcohol?
now. I've never been drunk.
Isn't that interesting?
I've never been alive.
Interesting.
I'm dead now.
You know who is never also reminds me of is Penn Jillette. Penn Jillette has never had a drop of alcohol, never smoked anything in his life.
Well, in his case, I'll make an exception. No, I mean, he's, yeah, okay, all right. Well, I don't know. I think this. I
It's
think
very
this Is the year.
personal. It's
I
very,
think this is the
You
year.
think this you're going to get
I
high?
think this is it.
You could do like a shotgun high with like your wife. Does your wife smoke?
My wife does not smoke.
Too bad.
No,
Because you could do like a thing back and forth, like
I don't
sexy
do,
time.
I don't do that stuff.
No?
No.
That's too
Well, I
bad.
mean, I don't know what
You
that
do
is.
sexy time? You have a child.
I do sexy time. It almost sounds
Crasnick,
like I'm
ladies
in
and gentlemen.
Vietnam right now. I don't know what. Do you do sexy time? I've never heard that expression before, but I'm going to pursue it at another time. We're going
This
to
is
talk
a great
about this another
show.
time.
This is a
It's
great
good
show. And
It's a good
thanks for
show.
having me on, really.
Christine Blackburn, everybody. Story worthy.
StoryReadyPodcast.com.
Thank you so much for being here. Storyworthypodcast.com.
Thank you, Ed.
It's so good to see you.
pleasure.
Thank you for coming all the way over. Christine Blackburn, everybody, is here. And I just want to say that if you're a person who is smoking right now, continue smoking, and if you're somebody who's not, try it. You might like it. I'm gonna get high on the air when the show actually goes on the air. I promise I'll do it. Now I just want to have if it's okay, I want Allie to play another song for us, and then we're gonna have a very special guest, a visitor from the East. Ladies and gentlemen, Allie Gertz, one more time. You'll play. This one is one that is about friends of mine, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Can you set this? Does this need any setup?
Well, it's the first song that I ever put online, and the way I described it in the video was this is a song about the comedians I like, and it's called Comedians.
Do it.
It is not my fault that I like Patton Oswalt. It is not a crime that I've got Rob Hubel on my mind. And if it's wrong, don't tell me how, 'cause I'm not gonna stop liking Judd Apatow. 'Cause I am a girl who is in love with comedians. My first crush was Pee Wee Herman, but now I'm on to Eugene Merman. I don't know how it happened so fast, but I've got feelings for Martin Starr and they're gonna last. Tell me it's okay to like Louis C.K. All of my friends call me Smeagol, 'cause I'm looking for a ring from Jason Segel. It's not the money that turns me on. I'm not interested in Benjamins, except for H. John. No, I'm just a girl who is in love with comedians. I want Andy Daly nightly. Would Paul Scheer come near if I asked him politely? Will my salad ever get tossed by David Cross?
Wow, that's a lot of... Those are all friends, and I love that. I love that they're in there. So you're really a big fan of stand-up.
I really am.
Yeah. And who's your... If you have to see one person...
That I've not seen already, or just a favorite?
Just a favorite.
Patton.
Yeah, Patton's pretty good.
Yeah,
Pretty good actor.
And his book is the best thing I've ever read. And I actually took a chapter of his book called "Song for Ulvac" directly and made a song out of it. So I actually word for word.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
Does
really
he know
fun.
this?
Yes, and he is very supportive and wonderful about it.
Now, if I called him tonight and sing it to him over the phone, do
He
you
would
think
sing along.
He would sing.
He would do the harmonies.
Okay. Allie Gertz, everybody. Thank you so
Yeah, thank you.
much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, thanks.
Please come back. All right, now this gentleman, I don't think I've seen him since we had a Cobb salad together a while ago. A terrific writer, an author who has written a number of books, among them Small Screen, Big Picture, which is used, I believe, in many universities and bibliotecas. Okay. Pardon my French. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Chad Gervich. Chad, come and slide over. All right. Chad, first of all, it's great to see you, and your hair looks marvelous.
I just got a cut. By the way, I cleared the room, you notice. Like, as soon as you called me up, everybody left.
No, you know what it is, and I'll tell you the truth. It's about 5,000 degrees Kelvin in here.
It's because I'm in here.
Because you're so hot.
Yes.
You're very hot. Now, Chad, you have been very busy. Now that James Brown is dead, you're the hardest white and black man working in show business, I understand. Now, can you first of all, let's work backwards, okay? The book now, how does this happen? And it's a long title, but it's called Psych's Guide to Crime Fighting for the Totally Unqualified. Now, this is the show Psych.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell me how it transpires, and how do you write a book like this? I mean, is there a lot of research? What do you do? Are you totally unqualified for crime fighting?
I'm completely unqualified. Yeah, no, this book, it's a tie-in book with the TV show Psych.
Yeah.
Have you seen the show? TV
Yeah,
show
I love
Psych?
the show, yeah.
It's a great show.
Yeah.
And a man who I'm friends with created the show, Steve Franks, and we met like over 10 years ago, I think. In fact, I was working as an assistant at the production company that developed his very first pilot ever, and it unfortunately didn't go to series, but we just kept in touch ever since then.
Yeah.
And so this is a tie-in book to Psych, and it is written by Sean Spencer and Gus, who are the main characters on the TV show, and it's basically a how-to-be a detective guide written by the two main characters. But they don't actually exist, so they had to find somebody who did exist to write the book, and I was their last choice, I'm sure.
That's wonderful. It's wonderful the way that transpired, the way that they went through, and then they said
They went through, they called Stephen King, and he couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
And they tried J.K. Rowling, and she was busy. And they pretty much went through everybody. I was the last person they called. They went through the list. And I was the last person they called, and I said, because I'll do anything for a free lunch, and I said, sure, I'll totally do it.
I'll be happy to do it.
Yes.
Now, then you say I'm going to do this, but were you a big fan of the show prior to doing it?
I liked the show a lot.
Yeah.
It was, I had not seen every single episode, but I'd seen a lot of them.
Yeah.
They actually, this is just a quick tangent, but Psych did a parody episode of Twin Peaks a couple years ago, which if you hadn't seen it was genius. I mean, brilliant. So I was a fan of the show, had not seen every episode, and in order to write the book, I watched every single episode of Psych probably twice, at least.
And you enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Obviously.
you can't ask for better research for a project than sitting there and watching a really good TV show.
That's pretty good. What now? So, what is the strangest? Because you've had some very unusual. That's a great job, but that's a very unusual job.
It was very fun,
right? What is a job that you've had that? I mean, what do you think the worst job you've ever had in your life is? And it could be show business. It might not be show business.
The worst job. I worked at the Gap for 2 hours, literally 2 hours.
It was a 2-hour job.
It was 2 hours. It was right after school. It was right after grad school. I had gone to UCLA and needed a job. I actually had at the same time the best job I ever had, which was working at Coffee Bean, which was a blast. And I worked there from, I had like the 5:30 a.m. shift, and I loved the people that I worked with. And I would get there like at 5 a.m. just because I was so excited to get in. And I loved it. It was so much fun. And it was just regulars coming in, so you're hanging out with people you love. But I needed another job, so I went and applied at the Gap. And ended up getting it. I'm sure you know, they have a very rigorous hiring process. You've got to go through all kinds of hoops,
Yeah.
And
they grill you pretty good.
They grill you, and I had a master's, so I think that helped qualify me. And so I got the job at the Gap, and I went in for my first day of training. And the first hour was they took us around the store and they showed us how to fold things, and they showed us different kind of stitches on all the garments. And then we went back into this little room, and there were probably like 8 of us trainees. And the first thing they did was they showed us a video. And the video kind of went through the history of the Gap, and every few minutes in the video they had Rosie O'Donnell come on. She'd say, I love the Gap because they've got great clothes. And then they'd have some other celebrity come on and tell why they love the Gap. And another celebrity would come on and say, I love the Gap because of this. And then Rosie O'Donnell would be back, and at the end, the trainer asked us, she said, okay, now let's go around, and I want everybody to tell me one thing that you learned about the Gap from this video. Mm-hmm. And when she got to me, everyone was going around, they were like, oh, I learned that you have this much revenue, and I learned that you had this many profits, and I learned how your clothes are made. And they got to me, and I said, I learned that you guys paid Rosie O'Donnell a shitload of money. And she didn't find that very funny. And the training session went on, and she wanted to play this game next, where she had a ball. We were all sitting in a circle around her, and she would throw the ball to each person in the circle and say, when I throw you the ball, I want you to say, when I say Gap, I think blank. And so she was throwing the ball to different people around, and it was like, when I think Gap, when I say Gap, I think great service. And someone else would be like, when I say Gap, I think cute clothes. When I say Gap, I think colorful pants, whatever. And she threw the ball to me, and I said, when I think Gap, I think 5-year-old kids in sweatshops. And it was just dead silent, like just dead silence. Like nobody laughed, and it was so awkward. And then I just said, and really cute sweaters. And then I threw the ball back to her. And the next day, it was awful. Like, I hate it. The next day, I was on my way to the Gap for my second day of work, and I was just like, I can't do this. And I called and told them that my grandpa died, and I never showed up again.
My grandpa died.
Yeah.
I'd love to come back, but I have to go to my grandpa died.
Right. The truth is he did. It was long before that, but it wasn't a lie. So that was the worst job.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
Kids
the worst
in
job.
sweatshops.
Yeah.
5-year-olds. That's fantastic. Now, that prepares you for a career in entertainment, I would imagine.
Only because you learn what it's like to only hold a job for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And that actually was, you're right, that actually was great training.
We talked about this today. We talked about the fact that it is Shark Week.
Yes.
And we talked about that we are like sharks because we're just looking for the next meal. And you
Yeah.
go on.
And you just keep
and
moving.
It's like, well, maybe Modern Family's hiring, and you're a shark. And you go in.
I have a friend who graduated from, she's one of like our main babysitters, and she graduated from college about a year ago, and she got fired from her job. She got fired for the first time about a month ago, and she called me and was upset, and I was like, what should I do? And she had left a message saying she got fired. Can you please call me? I got fired. Can you please call me back? And I called her back, and she answered the phone, and she was clearly crying. And I was like, congratulations. And she was like, what? And I said, you just got fired. Welcome to show business. You're in now. You're in. This is just this is your first firing. You've got 30 years of this ahead of you.
Oh, my God.
And it didn't help her feel better.
Not at that time.
Not at that time, but I hope it will someday.
Well, that woman is the president of Fox today.
Now she's running Fox.
That's what's so weird about it.
Yeah.
Is that it happens like that. Now, you worked for one of the greats. Well, he was one of the most powerful men in show business at one time, and that was Warren Littlefield.
Yeah.
So, if you saw The Late Shift or you read the book, you know what an important role he played in NBC at one time, and then went on to develop a lot of shows. Now, were you scared in working for him at any point? I mean, was it an intimidating process, or were you always was that easy for you?
I met him when I was in UCLA. UCLA had a mentor program for graduating grad students, and I applied and ended up getting Warren as my mentor, and at the time he was still president of NBC. And the first day that I went out to meet him, I don't know if scared is the right word, but intimidated and nervous. And I met his assistant, Patty, who is still his assistant, and went into his office, and there's just a huge wall of all TV screens, and I met him, and we sat on it. And his office was like larger than my apartment at the time. I mean, it was huge. And we just talked about television and writing. But I mean, so I was probably intimidated that first time. And then it was about a year after that he hired me at his new company, which was called the Littlefield Company. But I mean, Warren is like this. I don't know if there are still executives like him out there. I mean, because he's just super smart and so warm. But he was a great mentor and teacher, and working for him, I learned so much. And he was great about explaining things, and just passionate about stories and writers and television and making quality television, and just the way he treats people. I feel like you don't see it a lot anymore. He's just been a fantastic. Even today, he's just a great mentor and a great friend. I cannot say enough awesome things about him.
And what's the most important thing for your career that you've learned from him, would you say? I mean, something that you have carried on with you, or it may not be just one thing, but maybe it's that. Maybe it's being a mentor. Maybe it's mentoring other people, which you do.
I do that, and he is really good at that.
I want to explain that somebody's making a latte right now. So what you're hearing in the background, that's not. We're not Foleying that. We're not piping that in. That's happening now.
I'm trying to think of one good nugget that he gave me, but I feel like there's so.
But now, Chad, this is something that is always. I mean, we work together, and you're very talented at story and knowing what works and what doesn't work. How did you get that skill? How did you learn about that? And how does it play out in the way you write and what you write?
Well, I think. First of all, honestly, I think working at the Littlefield Company with Warren, who's a big fan of story, was very helpful and educational. And working there, it wasn't just working with him, but we were working with the best TV writers in television. And so they would come in, and when they were pitching us stories or we were going over story notes, I mean, you're working with the smartest guys in show business and in storytelling. And so that was amazing. Also, I think just reading a shitload of scripts and books and constantly reading. And I like to do a thing that I feel like I've done ever since college, and I feel like I still learn from this, but when I want to write something new, I will go out and find, whether it's a TV episode or a short story or whatever, I'll go find something that's similar and kind of break it down structurally and narratively, and then just literally plagiarize it, just copy it, lay my own story over the bones of it. But like doing that, and I don't know, I've done that thousands of times. You just learn by breaking down other people's stories. You just learn so much about what's working and what's not working and what to do. So I think it's just reading and working with really smart people, and honestly, I feel like trusting your instincts.
Which is very hard to do when you get a lot of rejection and you feel like you should be copying something that's successful in order to sell something. But maybe that's not the best way to go for a story that you're passionate about.
I think that's right. I think you've got to always be writing something that you're passionate about, and you've got to have a crystal clear vision for what you're writing. I feel like anytime I've written something that has failed, it's because I didn't have a crystal clear vision for what it was. And so somebody gives you a note, and you think, oh, that sounds good, and you take it. And then someone else gives you a note, and you're like, oh, that sounds good, and you take it. And pretty soon it's like, you were on a journey, and by taking baby steps off the road, you find out you're 100 miles away from the road you're supposed to be on,
Right.
and you thought you were going in the right direction, but you've allowed yourself to veer off the path.
Now, you go around speaking to people about writing, about the
Yeah.
process of writing,
Yeah.
and you went to Israel? Is
Yeah,
that
I
true?
just got back from Israel.
What? So how is writing for television different over there? I mean, we've had shows that have come from Israel. We've had In Session, or In Treatment.
In Treatment.
In Session is another show that I do every week with my therapist. It's a show that I'm working on as we speak. It's not going well, but it's my
Yeah.
show, and I don't care. Nobody has to know about it.
But no, In Treatment,
Yeah.
Homeland, there's a show called Traffic Light. I feel like Israel is it's because Hollywood loves the Jews, and they could make anything over there, and we'll want it over here because it's the Jews.
It is the Jews. In fact, there should be a show called It's the Jews.
Yeah, there should be.
Would be a wonderful. It would be almost a block of programming, I would think. But
Isn't
so,
that pretty much just what it is anyway?
Yeah,
Yeah,
nobody
I think
likes to say it that way.
but yeah,
it is. It's the Jews.
Yeah.
And they say it in a bad way, and they say it in a good way. What's the problem? It's the Jews.
Yeah.
So what? So now you go over to Israel. You're talking to them. What are you telling them? What are you speaking to them about? And how were you received?
It was great. I went over there as there were 4 teachers, speakers, writers that went over, and we all talk about kind of different aspects of television writing. And we did 3 days of seminars and workshops talking about story structure and character and theme. I kind of do like a very bird's eye approach. I talk about what I call the 5 elements of TV storytelling. But I mean, it was terrific because they have their TV industry over there. Tons of super smart, creative people. I mean, they're creating great shows like In Treatment and Homeland, but it's tiny. I mean, their industry is so small. It's not like, here there are thousands of people working in the industry. There I don't even know if it's a couple hundred.
How does the cultural environment affect the writing? Because here we're in L.A. and it's almost like the culture feeds on what you're writing. There's no people who actually live a life like Phil Rosenthal always used to say, the creator of Everybody Loves Raymond. He'd say, go home at 6 o'clock so you can live, and then you will have something to tell me when you come back.
Mm-hmm.
Many people are not like that. I'm saying it's rare here. Did you find that the culture sort of affects the way that they write?
I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't know that I was there long enough and really involved.
Were
in
you
it.
there longer than 2 hours?
I was there longer than 2
okay,
hours.
that's all I needed to establish.
But I will say this is not, maybe doesn't have anything to do with the writing over there, but one thing that was great is we were there for a week and we were teaching for 2 or 3 days, and so we got to go around and see the country, and we had some fantastic guides and friends over there who took us around, and so we spent some time talking to them about what's going on politically and culturally over in the Middle East right now.
Yeah.
And everybody over here in America, and I'm guessing everywhere else in the world, has their own opinions on what Israel is doing and what Israel's not doing and where they should be and where they should pull back from. And everybody has their viewpoints and opinions. And talking to them over there, they were like, listen, we know everybody has their opinions, but until you've lived here in a country where you wake up every morning knowing that every neighbor you have wants to kill you, and that is not just a theoretical, oh, we could go to war. It's literally, there could be a suicide bomber in the building next to you right now, or right now, or right now, or right now. Like, until you've lived that, have all the opinions that you want, you don't know anything.
I would assume that's right.
And one of our guides / friends over there, she told us a story. She was going to meet a friend of hers at a park for lunch, and she was running late. And as they got up to the park, she was on the bus. A suicide bomber went off, and the windows of her bus, blew inward, and everything was exploding, and everybody was screaming and running around, and she knew she was late, and the bomb had gone off literally right where her friend was. And she had some glass in her and was bleeding, and she was terrified. She was like, my friend must have been blown up. Like, she must have been blown up. And she ended up being found in kind of all the rubble and chaos by some friends of her parents, who took her to a hospital, and the hospital cleaned her up. And she'd been trying to call her friend and couldn't get through, and she just knew. She knew. And a couple hours later, her phone rang, and it was her friend saying, oh my God, I was running like 15 minutes late, and I knew you would be there, and you must have been right where the bomb went off, and I was terrified that I had lost you. And they'd both been just late enough that they missed it. But she was saying the thing is, like, it's just living with this daily uncertainty that these things can happen, and you don't know where, and you don't know when. And so it was interesting to hear. Am I rambling? Can I tell another story?
Okay, sure.
In talking about all this, they said, they were like, recently some news story had been reported that all these refugees are coming into Israel from Syria. And it had been reported that the Jewish guards at the border, the Israeli guards at the border, had apparently like frisked or searched a bunch of pregnant women who were trying to get into Israel to give birth. And it was, they were like in labor or on the verge of giving birth, and people were outraged. Like, you're searching pregnant women? Like, come on. And they were saying, but what didn't get reported is that just a couple weeks before that, a pregnant woman had come to the border and said, please, I'm about to have a baby, I need to get to a hospital. And so the guards rushed her to a hospital, and when she got there, she blew up because she wasn't pregnant. And they were like, that doesn't get reported. And after that happens, yeah, they're going to search every pregnant woman that comes over this border. 99% of them are actually pregnant women, but they are not taking any chances. But then what gets reported is, oh, they're searching pregnant women in labor, blah, blah, blah. And so it was just interesting because they were just like, until you've lived here, you just can't even begin to understand what it feels like.
Yeah, I don't think you could. My brother-in-law actually runs an organization called Americans for Peace Now in L.A., and it's a big organization in Israel. And they're, of course, on the liberal side, supposedly, and proposing a two-state solution, and that that they're pro-Israel, but they're also pro-peace. And but again, I mean, you don't know, and you can't know, and that kind of a lifestyle I don't know what it would be like to live like that. And I don't know how there's nothing really to follow that, because it's life and death, but I will follow it with something, and this occurs to me. You're very good at breaking down story. You're very good at finding problems in a story or finding what's good about it. How are you at doing that in your own life?
Terrible.
Does that transfer over in any way? And do you ever take from that and say, geez, I'm having this communication problem, I'm having an issue, I want to solve it, maybe I will learn from what I did?
I'll tell you, actually, I am pretty good at it, because usually when I'm looking at my own life and there's a problem and analyzing it, what I usually find is that the breakdown in communication is the other person's fault. That's usually what I'm able to put my finger on.
And most people don't admit that openly, and
most
they
people
are
aren't
dead
able,
wrong.
That's right. But usually it is somebody else's fault,
yeah.
I find.
Yeah.
Especially if that other person is a customer service agent at Time Warner or T-Mobile.
Well, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And if they're listening, and I don't know that they would be listening, but if they are listening, you can take that to the bank, wherever you're listening with your devices.
No, I'm not very good at figuring out my own life at all.
Because you're married and you have two. Two
now, yeah.
So after working over story problems and writing, and by the way, the range of shows, I mean, if you continue to work, you work on a lot of different kinds of shows. Cupcake Wars. I mean, Cupcake Wars, after lately, very similar. Chelsea Handler, sweet, cupcake.
You know what? Look, they're totally different shows, but on the other hand, they're the same in that you're creating conflict and story.
Even with Cupcake Wars. Well, you are.
What I do in Cupcake Wars is write anything that comes out of the host's mouth. So I'm not really creating story like, on reality shows, there are story producers who are, crafting everything that happens and feeding lines to the fake people who are fake actors out in the field. That's not happening. That's not Cupcake Wars. I am simply writing the introductions, the eliminations, all of that stuff on Cupcake Wars.
So you service the show in whatever way you're instructed to service the show. Even if you don't feel like it's, like this is not something that I would say, it's not something that's funny to me, for this show it works.
Yes. Yeah, you have to adapt your voice to whatever the show is that you're writing for.
All right, well, you don't have to get angry about it. All right, so I guess I would say the last thing, and we'll wrap up with this, is best written show on television.
Oh.
Give me a drama and a comedy.
The comedy is obviously Parks and Recreation, the greatest comedy of
Why?
all time.
Well, we're clapping here. Now, why is that so great? Why is that a better written show than The Big Bang Theory?
The Big Bang Theory, I will also say I think is an awesomely written show. The Big Bang Theory, I feel like, is not a show that I could ever... When I watch The Big Bang Theory, I mean, it is like a brilliant joke fest, and it is just joke after joke after joke, and they're all these, like, perfect jokes. And I'm not sure that is something that I'm very good at, writing those perfect jokes, but when I watch it, I felt the same way about Will and Grace. Like, those shows to me are just these, like, dazzling joke fests, and I love watching them, and I'm scared every time I watch them because I'm like, there's some genius people out there writing those. But to me, Parks and Recreation is, I mean, it's got such a strong, unique voice, and one of the reasons I love it is because it's hilarious, but it also breaks your heart. And to me, that show is best in the moments when you're laughing and crying at the same time, and when it's not making you laugh, it's real. It's not a joke fest, which I love.
Character driven.
It's totally character driven, but but don't mistake that for meaning there's no story. I feel like the story is really strong in there every week.
Right.
But God, I love Parks and
I
Recreation.
love the show. It's funny because my daughter's 8.5, but I'm for some reason we're watching a lot of older shows, most of them that are long since gone. She loves the Brady Bunch. She loves the Partridge Family. She loves Cosby Show. She loves the Cosby Show. And she's like watching. And the other day, and I had forgotten all about this show, but when I was a kid, this was a big show. The Waltons. Now, if you don't love that show, the storytelling on that show is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's so good.
You probably appreciate it in a different way than your daughter does, because you were in your mid-60s when the Waltons came on. So,
right. Yes, I was in my golden age.
Yeah,
my sunset years then.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. I was the original on Golden Pond. I had a fishing hat like Henry Fonda. I was not outside, but I had lost my way to the bathroom. Yes, I was never outside. That's correct. But they're amazing shows. And the writers who wrote those shows came from plays. They came from the theater, and they read books. I'm not saying that that's totally different than now, but the culture was a little bit different. Growing up in that kind of culture as a writer, it was different. So now, as a drama, now there are a lot of things that I don't watch, but...
Does it have to be a drama that's on right now?
No.
Well, then I feel like the answer is the greatest show in television history. Maybe man's greatest artistic achievement of all time. Sopranos.
Sopranos, she says. Somebody said.
What is that a singing show? I don't even know what that is.
I'm not familiar with it.
No, I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
No. Look, The Sopranos was a cute little show.
For its time.
For its time.
Yeah.
It
For
was
what it was.
fine.
For what it was.
Yeah. For what it was, it was fine.
Yeah.
But I can only imagine that The Sopranos went to bed every night just dreaming it could be Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Now you're being serious.
I am being dead serious. I can't possibly love a TV show more than that, although Parks and Recreation comes so fucking close. I don't know.
Well, I auditioned for that show, for Buffy.
You did?
Yeah, and I went in
you
for a couple different parts.
Buffy. I mean, Sarah Michelle Gellar is beautiful, but I think you would have been better.
Well, it was supposed to be, Buffy was supposed to be a Jew. And a Jew with a worried Jew, and was supposed to have a hunchy. No, I never forget that. I did a couple like really bit parts, but it was like the guy I knew, one of the guys who wrote the show, and he was like, "Okay," and I thought he was just going to be funny with me. I thought it was just like, "Hey, be funny." He became all of a sudden very serious about these characters, and he said to me, "You're a druid. You're not angry." but you're not happy. I'll tell you that right now. And he's talking to me like a cartoon. And I'm like, you have not been out of the Buffy writers' room enough. That's your problem. Because you're talking to me about being a druid. And it was crazy. These people don't get out. Now, a brilliant writer, though. But you can get crazy in that writer's room. Because you spend way too much time writing and not enough time living. On a show that's run, I don't know how it's run. But anyway, well, I understand that. To me, St. Elsewhere is the best show that's ever been on television. St. Elsewhere is the best show.
That was the Sopranos spinoff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cute.
It was cute.
No. Anyway, well, this is good, Chad. I'm very happy to see you. Your posture is excellent. Your timing is excellent. And your demeanor is wonderful. No, I'm really happy to see you, and I want to talk to you another time because I want to really learn more about what it is that a man like you does.
I don't know.
No, you're a very accomplished author. You write these books. People are studying your work right now.
I don't have an explanation for that. I don't know.
Well, you certainly know how to take a compliment. I'll say that for you.
Thank you.
If you want to learn how to take a compliment, you come to this place.
Well, thank you. Thanks.
Well,
yeah, you're right. I should just say thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure seeing you. Who are you? No, it's a pleasure.
Thanks.
Chad Gervich, everybody.
Come
on. He's done. It's an emotional roller coaster with the things that you told us. It is. You know, the Self-Help Comedy Hour, first of all, I want to thank everybody on the show. I want to thank Christine Blackburn for hanging in there. Christine Blackburn, storyworthypodcast.com. Listen to it. I want to thank Allie Gertz for her terrific singing. And you can see her on Twitter at Cosby, COSSBY sweater. Right? Yep. Okay. And look for her work. She's a very talented singer-songwriter. And I want to thank Chad Gervich for being the gentleman that he is, the gentleman farmer of ideas.
Can I ask?
And what's the book? Plug all the books.
Oh, so the Psych book?
Yeah.
Is called Psych's Guide to Crimefighting for the Totally Unqualified.
And?
Can I just say one thing about the book that I find really funny?
Sure.
On the Amazon charts,
yes, it
was the #1 best-selling book in the category of literary criticism and history.
Well,
I don't know.
That's Jeff Bezos for you.
There you go.
Has no idea what he's doing. Yeah. Okay.
Can I ask a question? Is it Christine?
Christine, yes.
Can I ask Christine a question? What? So I've always wondered this, but like when you said you constantly were finding people who were having sex in the bathrooms on the airplane. Not constantly, yes. But I've never had sex in a bathroom on an airplane. Yeah. But every time I'm in there, I'm a guy. I think about it.
Yeah. Diaper deck. 2 words. Diaper deck.
You sit up on there? Because I'm like, how would you possibly? It would be so uncomfortable.
You have to use the lab with the diaper deck.
And then she sits up there.
Look, I don't know what you and your wife do, Chad.
Can you draw me a diagram?
I don't know.
And then she said, this has been fascinating. I'm fascinated that you brought this up because now our listeners, by the way, if you're traveling, please use the diaper deck because you have to use the diaper deck. I don't even leave my seat. It could be a 10-hour flight. I don't leave my seat, and I apologize a lot. So I won't be in the diaper deck, although I'm wearing adult diapers as we speak. All right, Chad Gervich, Christine Blackburn, Allie Gertz. Now, I want to tell you that next week we're going to have Greg Fitzsimmons. We're going to have the following week, we're going to have Andy Kindler and his martial arts teacher. And that is going to be amazing. And Rick Overton's coming, and Greg Proops is supposed to come. So it's going to be a fun factory here on the Self-Help Comedy Hour with Ed Crasnick. I want to thank everybody, all my guests. I want to thank Justin Weihs for doing the sound again. Thank you, Justin. And I want to thank Jason Tanner for letting me be here, and Clabe Hartley for letting me use the Cow's End Cafe. The Self-Help Comedy Hour is heard each and every week on Wrecking Ball Radio. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. I'm Ed Crasnick. Have a great week.